All right, so you know strength is important, right? Like it's kind of a big deal when we talk about feeling good and living a healthy life. But it goes way beyond just like how much weight you can lift.
Yeah, totally. We've been taking a look at this super interesting Strength by Fitness article, and it really flips the script on how we think about strength.
Yeah, and they emphasize this idea that a healthy life is built on three main things, right? Like a
Mhm.
three-legged stool, so to speak. You've got consistent exercise, eating good food, and they really stress foods high in what they call SPC or satiety per calorie.
Mm.
Stuff that keeps you feeling full and satisfied.
Right, those nutrient-dense foods. And of course, the third leg of the stool is sleep. Can't forget sleep.
Absolutely. So they're saying those are like the non-negotiables, the foundation. But then the article gets into this whole debate about how we should exercise, right?
Yeah.
Like, should we be hyper-focused on one specific type of training, or is there more to it?
Yeah, it challenges that whole specialize mindset that we see so much in fitness these days. Like if you're a runner, just run. If you're into strength, just lift heavy.
Totally. And you see it everywhere, right? Like young athletes being pushed to focus on one sport, year-round training.
Exactly. And even within different fitness communities, there are all these very specific beliefs about the right way to train. And I think that's what the article is pushing back against.
Okay, so let's get into this do-it-all concept that the article really advocates for. Like, what does that actually look like, and why is it so beneficial?
So the big idea is that you're mixing different fitness modalities, right? Not
Mm.
just sticking to strength training or cardio, but doing both. And
Yeah.
their argument is that this actually gives you the best overall fitness and health.
Okay, so I'm already seeing where this is going. You're getting more bang for your buck, so to speak.
Yeah, it's not about spreading yourself thin. It's about getting those overlapping benefits from different types of exercise, plus some unique advantages that you just wouldn't get if you were only doing one thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like they literally say all fitness modalities provide a big overlap of benefits as well as unique health and fitness outcomes you will not get otherwise.
Right, and the article talks specifically about how powerful the combo of cardio and strength training can be. Like when you do both, you're hitting your health and fitness from multiple angles.
Okay, I like it. So it's not like strength or R cardio,
Hmm.
it's strength AND cardio.
Exactly. And even within those categories, cardio and strength training, there are nuances, right? The article points out that you have things like slow, steady runs versus faster running or sprinting.
Which I guess makes sense, right? Like I enjoy a good jog, but I'm definitely not going to be winning any races.
Exactly. Steady state cardio is great for your heart, and it's generally easier on your body, recovery wise, but it won't necessarily give you that explosive power that you get from sprints.
Right, so like different tools for different purposes.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the same applies to strength training.
Totally. Like lifting heavy weights for fewer reps is going to do different things to your muscles than, say, using lighter weights and doing more reps until you hit failure.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm following you, both are good, but they do different things.
Exactly. It's like heavier weights, lower reps, that's going to be really good for building pure strength. But lighter weights, higher reps to failure, that's going to build some serious endurance in your muscles.
Got it. And I think I remember the article talking about volume too, right? Like how much total training you're doing.
Absolutely. And even the speed of your movements matters. Whether you're lifting slow and controlled or going more explosive, those are going to create different results. Then there's the whole compound versus isolation exercises thing, like working multiple muscle groups at once or just zeroing in on one specific muscle.
Man, so many options. So it sounds like, again, it's all about finding the right tools for the job.
Yeah, and the article isn't saying there's one perfect way to train, but the TLDR from Coach Mike is literally do it all. And he goes on to say, because all these fitness modalities and uniquely different ways of approaching how you actually go about training those sports and fitness forms will give you overlapping yet uniquely complementary health and fitness benefits and outcomes in capacity, performance, and body composition.
Okay, so we're really starting to see how this all connects. We're not just talking about exercise in the abstract here.
Yeah.
Like these different approaches actually lead to physical changes in your body.
Absolutely. Like strength training, especially when you're eating enough protein, it tells your body to build those myofibrillar proteins. Those are what make your muscles bigger and stronger.
Makes sense. So that's how you get those gains everyone's after.
Right. And then you have mitochondrial proteins, which are all about energy production in your muscles. So they help with endurance.
Got it. So the more mitochondria you have, the longer you can go.
Yeah.
But how does the intensity of your training factor into all this?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. Lifting heavy, like 70% or more of your one rep max, that's going to be key for building both size and strength. But when it comes to cardio, you've got moderate intensity continuous stuff. Think like a steady jog at around 70% of your max heart rate. And then there's high intensity interval training, which is more like 85 to 90%.
So both types of cardio are beneficial, but in different ways.
Exactly. And both have their place in a well-rounded routine. But here's something that might surprise you. The article talks about how strength training can actually have aerobic benefits.
Really? So like lifting weights can kind of be like cardio too.
In a way, yeah. If you do those higher rep sets with lower to moderate weight, pushing yourself close to failure, that can actually increase the number of mitochondria in your muscles, which in turn makes them better at using oxygen.
Wow, that's fascinating. So it's like you're getting a two-for-one deal.
Right. It really challenges the way we traditionally categorize exercise. And for all those hypertrophy enthusiasts out there, the folks really focused on muscle growth, the article has a good point. It's great to get those gains, but don't get so caught up in hypertrophy that you miss out on the benefits of lifting heavier or training with higher intensity.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket, basically.
Exactly. Now, to really bring this home, the article highlights some really interesting research on this combined approach. There's this study from Loughborough University that looked at well-trained runners.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember reading about this. So they split the runners into two groups.
Right. One group just continued with their regular endurance training. The other group, on top of their running, added in 2 strength training sessions a week. Stuff like squats, leg presses, calf raises, plyometrics, all geared towards building lower body strength and power.
And I'm guessing the results were pretty telling.
They were. So the runners who added the strength training didn't get bulky or slower or anything. In fact, they actually maintained better running economy. Their blood lactate levels improved. And get this, their time to exhaustion increased by a whopping 35%.
Wow, 35%. That's a huge difference. What happened to the other group, the one that just stuck with running?
Their time to exhaustion actually decreased by 8%. So the strength training group was getting stronger and more resilient, while the endurance-only group was actually losing ground.
That's mind-blowing. So you're telling me I need to add squats to my marathon training plan?
It's definitely something to think about. And the article points out that this isn't just one isolated study either. There's this broader trend where people who incorporate both strength and cardio, whether it's through specific training sessions or activities like martial arts or cycling, they tend to have better overall health outcomes.
Oh, so people who do both are healthier, you said. And what? They also have better endurance and can run more efficiently.
Exactly. They tend to jump higher, move faster, have greater endurance. And here's the kicker. They don't lose strength or muscle mass as long as their diet is on point. It's like they're getting the best of both worlds.
It really makes you rethink those old school ideas about needing to specialize, doesn't it?
Totally. And the article gets into some pretty big picture stuff too, like how our current fitness habits as a society, especially the lack of emphasis on healthy movement and exercise, are leading to decreased physical capability in younger generations.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. Like, what happens when those generations get older?
Well, the article points to rising healthcare costs associated with declining physical function, especially sarcopenia, which is the loss of muscle mass and strength that comes with age. It's a huge issue, and it's estimated to cost about $19 billion annually in the U.S. alone.
$19 billion.
Wow.
Wow. That's a lot of money.
And the crazy part is sarcopenia isn't just a normal part of aging. It has a lot to do with our habits over time. Like if you're not using your muscles, you're going to lose them.
So it's like a use it or lose it kind of thing.
Exactly. And it's a pretty powerful reminder that taking care of ourselves physically isn't just about looking good or being able to run a marathon. It's about maintaining our independence and our quality of life as we get older.
So you're saying, like, if you want to be able to play with your grandkids when you're 70, you'd better start taking care of your body now.
Pretty much. Now, we can't talk about all this without mentioning body composition and nutrition. The article is very clear that excess body fat is bad news for your health.
Yeah, no surprises there. We all know that carrying extra weight can increase your risk for heart disease, diabetes, all sorts of problems.
Right. But the article goes deeper, connecting those issues to your future well-being, like your health today is setting the stage for your health tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm guessing this is where that whole SPC thing comes back in.
You got it. Eating a nutritionally complete, high-protein diet with a focus on foods that are high in SPC is huge. This approach naturally helps you eat less overall, reduces excess body fat, lowers your risk for a ton of health problems, And it's easier to stick to because you feel more satisfied after meals.
That makes sense. If you're not constantly hungry, you're less likely to overeat.
Exactly. And the article highlights the massive difference between high SPC and low SPC diets. People in low SPC diets tend to eat almost twice as many calories while getting way fewer nutrients.
I vaguely remember them mentioning a study about ultra-processed foods too, right?
Yeah, they said those ultra-processed low SPC foods can add anywhere from 500 to 1,000 extra calories to your daily intake. That's crazy.
That's insane. I mean, no wonder people struggle with weight.
It's not easy when you're constantly surrounded by those hyperpalatable, low-nutrient foods. And the article connects this way of eating, the high SPC approach, with exercise and how they work together to improve your metabolic health.
So it's like a 1-2 punch for your metabolism. Eat good food, move your body.
Pretty much. And they even referenced some past research showing that eating more protein than the standard recommendations, like over 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight, can almost double your lean muscle mass gains if you're doing the same exercise program.
Wow, double the gains. All right, I'm sold.
It's pretty compelling evidence, and it all comes back to the idea that your habits, both in terms of how you train and what you eat, they have a huge impact on your health.
Okay, so let's bust some myths here. The article talks about walking. I know a lot of people who think that just taking a walk is enough exercise.
Yeah, and the article is pretty clear that while walking is great, it's not a replacement for lifting weights. Both are important, and they give you different benefits. Walking isn't going to build significant muscle or strength, just like lifting weights alone won't give you the cardiovascular endurance of a runner.
So what's the takeaway here?
Do both. The article actually gives some really practical advice, too, like aim for 2 to 4 strength training sessions per week. As you get older, you might need to adjust the volume of your training, and when you do lift, focus on heavier weights and using good form.
Got it. Lift heavy, lift right. What about protein?
They emphasize that protein is crucial, especially as you age, because your body's ability to build muscle naturally declines a bit. So bumping up your protein intake can help offset that.
Okay, so lift weights, eat protein. What else?
Daily walks are great, ideally in the sunlight. Slower runs once or twice a week, not necessarily super long ones, are beneficial too. And then once a week, try a shorter, lower volume sprint interval session, something like that, where you're really pushing your limits but giving yourself plenty of recovery time.
I like how they give specific examples. It makes it easier to picture what a well-rounded routine could actually look like.
Right. And the article sums it up perfectly with this idea that we become how we train and eat. A body that can sprint or move explosively is going to be better at preventing falls and maintaining independence as you get older. It's all connected.
It's so true. Your habits now really do shape your future self.
100%. And it's not just about your physical health either. The article talks about the mind-body connection and how strength training in particular can have some pretty impressive effects on your brain.
Oh yeah, the mental benefits of exercise are huge. I always feel so much sharper after a good workout.
Totally, and there's research to back that up. They
Yeah.
cite studies showing that if you do strength training twice a week for at least 16 weeks at a moderate intensity, it can lead to significant improvements in your overall cognitive function. And that's regardless of your age.
So strength training can actually help you think more clearly.
Exactly. And of course, aerobic exercise is also incredibly important for brain health, though it might work through slightly different mechanisms. Again, it all points back to that do-it-all philosophy.
Right? A holistic approach to fitness leads to holistic benefits. Now, I know some people get worried that if they exercise more, their body will just slow down its metabolism to compensate, making it harder to lose weight.
Yeah, that's a common concern. But the article tackles that myth head-on. They say any decrease in resting metabolic rate from exercise is minimal and won't prevent you from losing fat if you're eating well. Plus, you're getting all those other amazing benefits from exercise that outweigh any tiny metabolic shift.
That's reassuring. It means you don't have to be afraid of moving more.
Exactly. They also debunk the whole set point theory, the idea that your body has a predetermined weight it wants to be at. They're like, nah, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
Long-term success comes down to consistently making healthy choices.
So consistency is key. No magic shortcuts. Now, I know there's also a strong connection between exercise and cancer, right?
Oh, absolutely. The article talks about how having healthy habits, including exercise, dramatically reduces your risk for many types of cancer and even increases your chances of survival if you do get diagnosed. Fitter people tend to experience fewer side effects during treatment, too.
Wow, that's incredible. So exercise can actually help you fight cancer.
It can make a huge difference, and having low muscle mass is actually linked to a higher risk of cancer and worse outcomes. So building and maintaining muscle is important, especially for people going through cancer treatment. The article specifically highlights that regular physical activity, especially strength training on its own or combined with aerobic exercise, is more effective than just aerobic exercise alone for reducing cancer-related mortality.
So lifting weights could actually be a lifesaver.
Potentially, yeah. It's pretty powerful stuff. And they address this interesting point about muscle mass in different body types. You know how some people say that obese individuals have more muscle than lean people because they're carrying more weight?
Yeah, I've heard that. But something about that logic has always seemed off to me.
Well, the article makes it clear that even though an obese person who's sedentary might technically have more absolute muscle mass than a lean person who exercises, that muscle isn't doing much for their health. It's the muscle that's built through regular exercise that matters.
So it's not just about having muscle, it's about having functional muscle.
Exactly. And they cite studies showing that strength training is super effective for reducing fat mass in overweight or obese older adults. It also improves those lipid profiles, your cholesterol and triglycerides after exercise. So again, it's showing that combining strength and aerobic exercise is the best approach for managing metabolic health, type 2 diabetes, and obesity.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here. What's the big takeaway for our listeners?
The main point is that resistance training is a game changer. It reduces your risk of dying from pretty much everything: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, you name it. And combining it with aerobic exercise is even better. Unless you're a professional athlete who needs to be hyper-specialized, you should be doing both all year round.
So do it all. It's like the mantra of this whole episode.
Right. And the article emphasizes that the specifics of your training, like how much, how hard, how often, that should be tailored to your individual goals. But the key is that you're consistently doing something.
Love it. Habits are everything.
They really are. And this whole deep dive into the Strength by Fitness article really highlights the fact that strength isn't just one thing, it's multifaceted. And true health comes from a holistic approach that combines different types of exercise and movement.
Yeah, it's about moving beyond that narrow view of fitness. We don't have to choose just one thing. We can have it all.
Exactly. So as you're listening to this, think about your own fitness routine. Are you neglecting certain areas? Are you over-focused on just one type of training? What's one small, realistic step you can take this week to incorporate something different, something new?
I love that challenge. It's all about becoming the strongest, healthiest, most capable version of yourself. And that doesn't happen overnight. It happens one step, one workout, one healthy meal at a time. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Strength by Fitness, and we'll catch you next time.
See you then.